I believe that we are live.
Hello.
Yay!
Hey, Vicki.
Hi, Ramon, Ray.
Get in my computer. How did you get in my computer? All of a sudden, you're there. So.
Well, see, there you go. That's a good sign. So we are live. That's good because it was just live for me a second ago. That's not good. We are public now. Okay, so we got to give people a chance to find us because they haven't found us yet.
Everybody jump in.
So everybody jump in. I'm going to hit record.
Come hang with us. We're gonna shoot the shit.
They're here. We're gonna shoot the shit and we're gonna change the game.
Right on.
Okay, so we started to talk about this before when we were so rudely interrupted by the fact that we were on private. So people have done the you can call me Ray and you can call me Jay, and do they still do that to you, old people like me who know that?
You know, you're not old. Stop it. But yes, people once in a great while. I think I've heard it in the past. Well, before COVID, when I was on the road, I think I heard it a few times. Yeah, from fans. So
Ray, speaking of COVID, let's go there. I'm still kind of waiting for people to show up. This is a little early for me to be so on time and prompt, but I know COVID has to have changed your life. It's changed all of our lives. In crazy ways. So I seem to, were you about to go on tour? Were you about to go do something when this all hit? What was your life like?
We were, Chicago was Vegas already. We were doing our residency. And it was, I believe, it was the final weekend of our residency. We did 3 weekends. And that Saturday, I believe it was March 14th. Well, we were going to be done on March 14th, and then the next day we were going to continue with another 5 or 6 shows, like New Mexico, Arizona, like around, just get on the bus and go, right?
Right.
So, we're going to do some other California dates as well. So, what ended up happening? They just said the whole week after Vegas is canceled, because we don't know what the hell is going on.
Right.
And then the plan was, the finishing dates of that run were just going to be done for, and we were going to start up again in late April.
Right.
So we were like, okay, then we're going home the next morning, which was Sunday, and which we did. We went home. And then, as you know, bam, that was it. That was it. Everything from there on was canceled. I think we were one of the last shows in Vegas.
I was going to say the 15th of March, a little on the late side there.
Yeah, I know Rod Stewart was there as well, and he did a show that Saturday night as well, and then everybody just closed up camp, so.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been okay, so now let me jump ahead now. Obviously, now we got March all the way to now.
Right.
It's been happening. I've just been doing recording sessions and video filming with Chicago, another artist, Paul Peterson. But what happened this past weekend was—
Wait, Paul Peterson, you can't drop a name like that and then stop. Not Paul Peterson, Paul Peterson.
From the Peterson family, yeah. Ricky Peterson and, the gang.
Okay, no, because the Paul Peterson that I know is from the Donna Reed show from before you were born. And he's actually been in my living room. He was an actor.
Oh, no. I'm talking bass player who played with Prince and played with Morris Day in the time.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. So he's incredible. I do a thing with him. It's called Funk Friday, and it's released every Friday. Now, normally it's I do every other week, and Lenny Castro does the other weeks. But like today, I was recording one for him for this week, and we did one last week. So I've yet to finish it. So Paul, if you're watching right now, I'll get to it, dude. I'll get to it. Calm down.
So all right. So everything stops, right? So you stop your residency. Did you have a lot of work on the books when this all started?
Oh my God, go to Chicago. You should see the back of the tour T-shirt. It's like full of dates. That's probably going to be a collector's item now. With a big old canceled across it. But yeah, we were scheduled all the way through, through a full summer tour with Rick Springfield, which should have happened, and then dates of our own. and we would have been on the road probably till November, I would think, at least till now.
Wow. So, okay. So at the beginning, you don't realize, none of us realize how long this is going to last.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so were you prepared? Are you okay? I mean, you've been doing other things.
You make the best of it, right? I've been, like I said, session work has been coming through, and with Chicago, we've been, and it's out already. The news is out. We're working on an album, and everybody's submitting material, new songs, and then Lee Loughnane, our trumpet player, he built this incredible studio in Sedona, Arizona. If you go to ChicagoTheBand.com, and you'll see a link to video of it. And I'm dying just to get there. I just like, dude, can I come now? I was like, Mike, I can drive over there and just hang out. He's like, no, not yet, not yet. So
tell me about that, because I lead the COVID crazies, and I've been alone in my house basically for 10 months, with the exception of a few weeks where my boyfriend was being heavily tested and he was coming over. But other than that, my son hasn't even been in my house. So what's your COVID? So all of this work you've been doing, recording, are you doing it out of your own studio? Have you been,
right here.
Have you been in an, it looks amazing. We're going to have you play in a little bit. Have you been with, what's your level of COVID craziness? What's your life like?
It's basically Groundhog Day, like the movie, everything's just wake up and I'm like, okay, make breakfast, But the cool thing, okay, now I got to admit that the blessing side of it is I'm home with the kids, and I'm talking my 14-year-old daughter and my 17-year-old son, and they're teenagers, right? And they're home doing online study. So, I wake up, make breakfast, my daughter usually, she's on her own. My son waits for the breakfast, like, Dad, come on, so I'm making. So, and then I'm also at lunchtime, I'm also the cafeteria lady from school, where I try to get creative, I'm like, all right, so sometimes I just make your straight up turkey and cheese sandwich and throw it on the table with a little bag of potato chips, or like today, I made my son carne asada tacos with cheese, and they're like legit tacos.
We're going to talk about your chefing, because I know.
We'll get there. But he it's like that, and then then they're done. I have literally, I mean, I'm not kidding. I have snacks ready for them, and then my daughter has to do her Starbucks run or Pete's run every day, around lunchtime. Well, when she has her hour break. Okay, okay, here's a classic example of being the cafeteria lady, so to speak. My daughter texts me from upstairs. From the house. Look, we have a small house, okay? And she's texting me, Dad, I ordered Starbucks, go pick it up. Oh, and I ordered you, and she's like, oh, and I ordered you a double cappuccino with almond milk. And I was like, what do you, oh, you got me okay, cool, I'll go pick it up. So then I drove to pick it up, and then I got to the house, and then I went upstairs, and I opened the door. She's like, don't come in, because I don't want my friends and teachers seeing you and Zoom. And so I'm literally with the door open, like, holding the drink until she grabs it from my hand, and then boom, and then I go downstairs, and then I come into the studio, and then I do, whether I'm doing work for some artist that's sending me stuff, or stuff that I'm writing. My buddy that I write with, Mike Burns, we've been writing for 5-6 years already, and we've been coming up with some cool stuff. And whether it's COVID related, like the feeling of being alone, or everything's going to be all right, that type of approach. And we've been writing, and some of it's turning into some possibilities for other artists as well to record. Nice. I had Leland play on a couple of tracks. Like I send him stuff, send him to play on a couple of recently, and who else? Oh God, Jeff Young. Do you know Jeff Young? Incredible singer, piano player. I'm sure you.
Jeff's been in my living room. I mean, you were supposed to be in the living room right before this whole thing happened. We were just arranging something. Fun play with Snuffy right before it all, which is how I met you. Actually, we'll get to that. But so how are you able to do? I assume you can't play on Zoom live with other people. Does that not work?
Nah, that doesn't work. You have to record your part separate, but with the music that everybody's hearing, and the click track, and then and I videotape myself I have a nice camera here, and audio tape it, videotape it, and then send both files to whoever's mixing it in their studio, and then they put it all together. Like the Chicago stuff we did 25. We did like 7 or 8 songs.
I've seen a few things that you guys have done, and they're amazing. I mean, it sounds phenomenal.
It does. It's amazing. Yeah. It's kind of fun to do, but weird at the same time. Like when I watch it, I was like, oh yeah, they're the guys. There's Brett. There's Keith, Wally. And it's like, but I want to be we all want to be together making music. Hello. But and I was saying, okay, so this past weekend,
yeah,
just I get calls, 2 separate artists, Paul Stanley and then Jonathan Butler, right? So Paul's manager calls up and says, we need to videotape, because I don't know if I told you, but we have an album coming out in January with Paul Stanley. It's called Paul Stanley and the Soul Station, right? And it's all 60s R&B music.
I love it. By the way, we have 2 degrees because Ace Frehley used to play at my jams all the time in New York.
Awesome.
So my little Kiss thing there. But anyway, so how long have you been playing with Paul?
For about 5 years now. This project has been happening for a while. And you know what's cool, the way it began? Paul, okay, so now let me take a step early. It was a Saturday morning. And okay, so it happened to be Record Store Day. Okay, you remember? Record Store Day usually is in April. I think they're doing it in November or December this year. But it's basically an encouragement to get out to mom and pop record stores or to Amoeba or and buy albums. You know what an album is over there, people? Like to buy an album, and it just brings business to these record stores, right? So it was Record Store Day that day. And, Gabby asked me at this point, okay, it was 5 years ago. So she's 14, she was 9. She's like, let's go do something, Dad. And I said, all right. I said, well, you know what? It's Record Store Day. Let's go and just show you what I used to do when I was your age, right? Wow. So we walked into the record store, and then I'm pulling out albums. I bought this one. Look, babe, I got this one. Well, and then I pulled out Kiss Alive 2. And I said, you want to see something crazy, something, like just rock and roll? And I opened it up and I started naming the guys. And I said, this was a big album. I bought it and I was so happy to have it, taking it home on the bus, Tower Records, Hollywood. Okay, right. Now that was around 11 a.m. So now it's around 2 p.m. My phone rings and it says, unknown, what is it? Like unknown caller or no caller ID, like something like that, whatever. So I never answer those. I'm just like, I always think it's solicitors or something, but right. So I answered it, boom, and then I hear, hey, can I speak to Ray Yslas? And I said, this is Ray. And he goes, hi, this is Paul Stanley. Sean Hurley gave me your number. And I went, yeah, Sean's a good friend. Paul what? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's another Paul Stanley.
Wait, on the very day that you were showing his album? Wow.
Okay, so Paul starts talking, asking me, are you available on this day? I'm putting a band together to do, he said, I'm putting a band together to do a show at my kids' school, a fundraiser at my kids' school. And as I'm hearing him, I'm realizing this is Paul Stanley. This is Paul fucking Stanley from Kids, right? So I was like, because I'm hearing his voice and you could, he's a very distinctive voice, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, dude, I'm available. And he goes, oh, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to text you my cell phone number. And next week I'll send you the set list. I'm out of town right now. And then I went, awesome. Thank you. So hung up the phone and I was like, and I told Gabby, you remember that album I showed, the guy with the star? He just called, and okay, so the benefit concert was really cool. It was Paul Stanley and friends. I don't know if the name Soul Station was already named. I don't think it was, but it was also the Foo Fighters. So it was us and the Foo Fighters playing at a school, at their kids' school.
That's one hell of a school. Yeah.
And then when we finished the gig, I remember Paul texting us all and said, this sounded way too good to not do it again.
Wow.
So we're going to do this again. I hope everybody's in, and everybody just started checking that off. And since then,
Wow.
he's been, experimenting with ideas, songs, working with songwriters. The album is a collaboration of some covers with original stuff. And I just heard the mixes, and it's amazing. So like I said, the album comes out in January, and we just filmed. So Friday we filmed 6 songs at some soundstage.
So you were live with the people.
Yeah, and that was the first time I have been around musicians since March.
Okay, so now tell me what that was like. How did they handle it?
It was, first of all, you're like, wow, it's great to see you, and and we all were COVID tested before. Everybody had to do the legit COVID test at the film production. Everybody,
right?
So it was to the T, beautiful, well done, and it was great. I mean, it was great to see Paul, great to see the gang and the crew, and and we're all of us had the same emotion. You could tell all of us had that same feeling.
So did you socially distance? Did you mask? Yeah. Did you not?
Doing the elbow hug, and
right.
And yeah, and we were up there, we played the tunes, and it was epic. We were there all day and having fun, talking, playing. So then I go home, right? I go home and I'm just, awesome. It was a great night. Saturday, I worked with Jonathan Butler, Rick Braun, Dave Cause, Daryl Williams, and Eric Valentine. There was a streaming show for Rick Braun. He does a thing every week called Rick Braun Live Cafe, or Rick Braun Cafe Live. And that was just as emotional as well, because I don't know if you're familiar with Jonathan Butler's music, but he's incredible. It's from South Africa, and he has a lot of things to say, but the rhythms and everything, it was once again, it was 2 nights back to back of just being around live music.
Okay, was that one done as safely? Did everybody test? Did they socially? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you have to do that in order to be together. So, and it was the same thing, masks on until we went live,
Right.
And then we were, pretty separated from each other. So it was, and that one you can see on YouTube right now, or on Facebook. If you go to Rick Braun's, I mean, don't leave here. Wait till we're done.
I'm not leaving you, but you'll send me the link afterwards, and I'll put it in the description so that everybody can watch it after the show.
So that was, I mean, it was 2 back-to-back nights of incredible music and musicians and messages and fun, but it was, I hadn't done anything since March, since I mean, live though. I'm talking live.
Right.
Thank God, lots of recording sessions here. So that's been good.
So the recording session, so you can basically play tracks for anybody, and you play with, the list of people that you have recorded with is just extraordinary, and toured with and played with, and we'll get through some of that. But so you were telling me you were slammed the other day, so you're busy, you're working and busy.
Well, when I say busy, I mean, I'm busy in here in the studio. But don't forget, I got 2 teenagers to deal with too. So, and I'm also driving Gabby to volleyball practice 3 days a week. So,
okay, so now wait a minute. How does that work? How do kids get together and touch balls and be close and do that?
It's conditioning. It's not necessarily practice. It's called volleyball conditioning. So it's more training. Like they run, they do exercises, and then they do one-on-one over the net type approach. So they're not, and they're all in masks. It's a bummer because she has to do all of that in masks, but it's good because she's around the students, which is very good. I'm enjoying the fact that they're put together with their friends, and that's such an important part of high.
Did they go a long period of time not being around other kids? Oh, you froze again.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Did they go a long period of time not being around other kids? Were they able to socialize all the way through?
They did. They went through.
Hey, Herman's here. Herman Matthews is with us.
Herman. Talk about pocket and groove. He's a monster. I love you, Herman. I miss you, man. I miss you, dude.
He's going red.
Now, talk about food. Have you seen his posts of his
I can't.
and eggs and oh?
I want him to be my wife. I want
Yeah.
Herman to cook for me unbelievable food he's making.
And
His plating is so gorgeous. That's like the colors and the plate.
Herman, you know it's all about presentation, right? You know, I do the same thing, you know.
It is. It's all about. So wait, so your kids have been able to socialize from the beginning? How has that worked?
Well, not really. Not in the beginning.
No.
The beginning was very difficult. They socialized on Zoom and you know like that, and but you know what? They're at the age where this is okay. This is like you could because they're talking to their friends or they're on the phone. They're just not with them, you know. And then my son is all about gaming, so they game together. They get on games and they play the games together. And he has a headset and they're cracking up, they're talking. But as far as like hanging out in public or hanging out in person, it didn't start happening until the summertime. And that was still like on the porch. When they would come over here, it was like three guys, three of Diego's friends. I would order pizza. Everybody would have the individual pizzas. Then they would be outside.
Right.
You know, porch on the lawn. Nobody comes in the house.
Right.
You know? It's like use the bathroom before you show up, you know.
that whole bathroom thing is really like how do you handle that when you're at the studio? Everybody just kind of does because you're tested.
Well, I mean, what do you mean at the studio?
Yeah, like when you went and did the gig.
They had plenty of and they were constantly cleaning them. They had people cleaning. They had okay. You had your crew, you had your film crew, and then there was a cleaning crew, like just. You know, constantly. And I was like, yeah, I mean, awesome. You know, they had stations all over the place where you wash your hands and it's all by foot. You step on it, wash your hands.
Nice.
So.
Okay, so how are you, do you think your kids are getting the same education they'd be getting if they were in the classroom? How do you feel about all of that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, their grades are fine. They're A's and B's, but you know what I feel bad for? Or like my niece and nephew who are younger, who need the teacher, who need, and I'm talking like 10 years and younger, 11 years and younger.
Right.
And I feel bad for the parents who have to sit there with them 6-7 hours. Come on, right? Where you know, okay, pay attention. Here's what they're talking, you know, writing. That's insane to me. I mean, but I feel like, I feel bad for those kids because they're all about, you know, classroom setting. Right. It has to be a classroom setting. So, you know, we'll see about that. I mean, but I am like, thank God these two are old enough to like, go do your homework, go get in class, you know.
And how are your kids together? Like, are they close so that their socialization together is good? Oh
yeah, they're good together. They're good. Like today when me and Gabby went to Starbucks to get her drink, she's like, hold on, let me ask Diego if he wants something. I said, nice. Oh, you're a good sister. Good. You know? And I tell them both, go wash the dishes. I'm tired of washing dishes, so go wash the dishes. So they're together and they're talking, you know. And like I said, seeing that, because normally I would be on the road every summer, right? I wouldn't see summer vacation with them. I wouldn't see their time off of school, you know, and I was there this summer, and I was like, this is kind of cool. I'm seeing their teenage years, you know, unfold. And then now Diego's applying to colleges. Hello, you know, and it's like, yeah, I'm like, college. So.
My daughter went to NYU and I'll be paying it off for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's where Gabby wants to go. She wants to go to NYU. She wants to go to study in New York. She doesn't necessarily NYU, but she wants to be a New Yorker. So. Yeah.
My daughter's still there. I haven't seen her since this all started, since February. It's killing me. I got to tell you, this whole thing, my kids are grown and they're out of the house, and my son's local, but I can't have him come in the house because he lives with people who go out in the world, and it's not there. It's the concept. So we meet out in his backyard and have meals and stuff. That's how we're going to do Thanksgiving. But so do you do things as a family? Like, do you watch Netflix together? Do you do stuff?
You know, in the beginning of COVID, we did. It was cool. We would do puzzles. We would have put an album on. Oh, my daughter was all into buying albums. She still is. but I would tell her, don't even ask for my position, my permission. Just get the album. I don't, if you want to buy an album, go ahead. I don't care. So she was ordering albums, and then we would sit in the living room and do a game, whatever, Uno, or do a puzzle and listen to the album. Now it's like she has a little record player upstairs, so she listens to her albums up there. Now she wants speakers for the record player. I'm like, dude, come on. But yeah, I mean, we still, of course we hang, but it was it's like they got used to it now. They're like, okay, it's the difference now is what's for dinner? What are you going to make for dinner? And I'm like, then it's getting creative, So.
Do you eat dinner as a family? Do you sit down, or are they taking it to their rooms and doing all of that?
They come in, well, once in a while in the kitchen, but they come and grab the plate because they have a lot of homework, and I get it.
I get it. Okay, so let's talk about you as a foodie, because I've been watching you. You know how to cook. You know how to do this thing.
Well, I try. A lot of it was trial and error, but I do get, like my neighbors, for instance, my neighbors, Rob and Patty, they're incredible cooks, like wow factor. Like just today, Rob texts me, are you home? I want to drop off one of your Tupperware things, and Patty made homemade chicken soup. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So I grab it. Thanks, Rob. All right, see you later, Mom. I put some in a bowl, and I was like, dude, I need the recipe now. So Patty texts me the recipe, and that's how it goes. And I get recipes either from them or from my buddy Mike Pinto in Illinois, and he sent me the most incredible crab cake recipe. So,
I saw the picture of your crab cakes. Oh my God!
I gotta pat myself on the back for that one, because I
made them on the grill, right?
Say what?
You made them on the grill, didn't you?
I did it twice. The first time was standard on the pan fried. Second time was a grill. Yes, and the grill was even better. It was that nice little crunch on top where it made the crunch sound.
I love that.
That with a great glass of white wine, a Chardonnay, the combination was perfect. So I've done that several times, and I have purchased cookbooks. You know what I love on Sunday morning, the Sunday morning show, CBS Sunday Morning, right? It's Saturday. Well, I watch both Saturday and Sunday. Okay. One of them always does a segment on cooking or restaurants or something. So then I start taking notes, or I order the cookbook from the chef they're talking to, right? So then I've experimented with that. So it's fun for me. It's relaxing, and I'll do regular dishes sometimes too, like chicken, rice, veggies, or grilled steak, or even I found that a filet mignon, a good filet mignon, pan frying it with butter and rosemary and garlic is better than doing it on the grill, because it's like, because you're constantly putting the butter.
It holds the juice.
It holds the juice. I mean, it's not the healthiest thing, but then I'll do a 5-mile walk or a 14-mile bike ride or something.
Okay, we're going to talk about the fitness too, and I also want to talk about the vitamins you're drinking. We got a lot to talk about. All right, first I want to hear about shopping. How have you been handling shopping in COVID?
Well, in the beginning of COVID, I was doing Instacart. That's it, just ordering everything, and it was great. It was fine, but now forget it. I mean, I go mask on, and even when I would go, I would bring the bags. And I would spray the bags down with the Clorox, and before I would unpack everything on the porch and then bring it in, wipe it down, and put it away. And as it was recommended, but now it's they said on the news you don't have to do that anymore. It's not that bad.
All right, I haven't been in a store since February. It's beginning of March, which is insane. I still get everything delivered. So what stores are you shopping in, and do you feel safe?
Oh yeah, I feel safe. I mean, I spray my hands. I have
right.
I always do that. So there's a cool store here called Howie's, which is an excellent market for meat, fish, and a lot of little things, But then I hit the regular markets. I'll go to Vaughn's, Ralph's, Whole Foods once in a while.
And you feel safe in there?
And if I see a line, I won't go.
Right.
I was just like, bail. I was like, I'm not gonna wait. So Trader Joe's is a favorite of mine, but they always have a line. But it goes pretty quick. So.
And is there anything else, like other than going to the market, is there any, and you did 2 dates recently, 2 sessions. Is there anything else that you do? Like, what else do you leave your house for in this?
Let me see. God, I mean, the only time I really left, what me and Gabby took a long drive to the beach, and we just drove up and down PCH, like literally from Redondo Beach all the way up to Malibu.
Nice.
And it was a beautiful day, and just listening to music, and we took our Starbucks and drove, and did that a couple of times, just to get out of the house. That's all. But what I'll do, I walk a lot. I love the area. My area's peaceful and beautiful, and I'll do 3 to 5 mile walk, depending what time of day. If I go like at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., then a little longer. But if I go later in the day, then it's a little less. And the dogs want to get in. Hold on.
Sure.
The dogs, they're so cute. They're just looking at me through the door like, can we come in? What are you doing? So, you want to say hello? And
hello.
Say hello.
Oh, this is a very cute one.
This is Max.
Hey, Max.
Over there.
Hi, Max. Hey, Max. Hi, Max. Oh, right into the camera. Oh, that is too sweet. Hi, Max.
His brother's around here somewhere. So, and they love being in the studio, by the way. It's funny when they'll sit on the chairs and I'll tell them, I got to record. And
no, don't tell me they know to be quiet.
They're quiet. And I'm talking drums, they don't, at first they were like, oh, get me out of here, shit too loud, but they're like, okay, like today I was recording congas and they were both on the chair, just like watching me, criticizing me, mocking me, like I can see one of them like saying, yeah, no, you're not doing a good job. So
we're going to have you do that in a little bit, and we're going to talk career in a little bit. Before I want to get to health and fitness and these vitamins you're doing, and then we'll get to the music. So you exercise every day? Are you out there doing something?
I try to do every day. I also have the battle ropes that I ordered, which are awesome.
What's that?
Okay, it's like a giant jump rope, and it's weighted, right? So I wrap it around the basketball hoop, and then you just do your arms back and forth, and it's weighted. So it's a lot of cardio. It's cardio, upper body strength here. So I'll do that while I'm listening to Dodger Talk or AM,
How long can you do? I mean, you're a percussionist, so I'm gathering you have a lot of upper body strength. How long will you do that for?
It depends. I'll do like a minute, right? And then I'll do 30 seconds, but do it fast, and then drink some water, and then I'll do that like rotations, then in different ways too. You do up and down, you do sideways, and then you do it like you're riding a horse, like as long as you get that wave going, right? So I'll do it for like 20 minutes maybe, and 1 minute at a time. So, and believe me, there's times where I've done it in the heat, and then I'm like, okay, I'm a little dizzy now. You gotta drink water. Wow. It's too much. And
they
then
say that intermittent, like really intense workouts, the best. Like that, you get the most cardio if you do really hard, really fast.
And you don't have to do it long, because there's a friend of mine who's a trainer. He told me, as long as you get the heart pumping, you get the cardio. Even Donnell, our singer with Chicago, on tour, he was giving me pointers, do this, do that, and you don't have to do a lot of it as long as you do it once in a while. Here's the other dog. Here's Sparky.
Hi, Sparky.
Hi, Sparky.
Very cute.
He's a chubba. Look at him. Woo.
Very.
I was like, good.
Okay, so you do, and you're a big bike rider. You do long.
I ride, but I don't ride like Mr. Lauren Gold does.
I love Lauren. Hi, Lauren.
I love Lauren. He's one of my brothers, but I stopped posting how many miles I do. Right? Like the other day I posted 14, and I was like, oh shit, then Lauren is gonna 30 miles. I did 40 miles today, and I'm like, what the hell? And he asked me, hey, let's go riding together. I said, dude, no, I'm not riding with you. I said, I'll ride with you for like an hour and then I'm done. Yeah. So, but for me, it's mental, you know, like, even, okay, I was talking to Paul Stanley about riding. Paul goes down and he rides a lot as well. And
I see, now this I cannot picture. This I cannot
picture. He does 30-mile rides and he'll do it every day.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't think I have the bike, first of all, to do that great of a ride. So yeah, me and Lauren went bike shopping, you know, just to check them out. And oh, man, it's insane. There's some great bikes out there, you know, and yeah. But yeah, I mean, you have to move. The body has to move. And when I was on tour, the performance was a workout.
Absolutely, for you.
Hours. And, you know, I would wear my Apple Watch.
I have a Fitbit, yeah.
And, you know, I would measure, you know, I turned it on and the steps, you know, measure the steps. And it was funny because I was showing Robert Lamb after one show. I said, man, I just did 15,000 steps.
Get out of here.
It was equivalent to a 7-mile run.
Wow.
Right? And he goes, and Robert made me laugh. Robert goes, wait a minute. All you're doing is this and then this and then this. And he goes, that's not exercising. And I was laughing. I said, no, my watch said I was exercising. So
that's hysterical.
But it is a workout, you know, especially on that show, especially on the Chicago show. It's a workout.
So do you have to, does that keep you in shape, or do you have to work out to be in shape for that?
Yes, exactly. I needed to maintain the energy for the show, right? So you prep before you go on the road, because from show one, you have to be rocking, you got to be doing it. And meanwhile, on days off, I would hit the gym of the hotel,
right, and
do a good workout. And on show days, I would still hit the gym, but I would do a very light workout because I knew I had a lot of cardio doing that night, right?
Right.
So and besides the working out, you know, we would walk the city, whatever city you're in, right? And that is always fun to do. And you're walking, you're moving. So, do
you have a special diet? Like, do you carb load, or do you prep for a show? Is there, like, do you have a diet that you follow when you're on the road?
Before show, no, I don't necessarily follow any specific eating habits, but I'll make sure, I don't know, I try not to eat a lot before a show because it get very uncomfortable, you know, and but no, not really. I just make sure, okay, we take a 20-minute intermission, right? So sometimes I'm like, all right, I need something, and there's like peanut butter or something. I'll make a quick peanut butter sandwich side stage, or you know, back in the dressing room, or cheese and crackers, or pepperoni, whatever. You know, not pepperoni, like the whatever in between snacks and all that. Pop in some of that, and you know, and then back on stage. But never anything like, I'm not going to eat a steak real quick or a chicken sandwich or anything. But just maintaining the energy, because I have gone on stage and not eaten dinner because it was busy backstage, and oh man, you feel it. And I feel like just weak, you know. It's like I got to get something. So I would tell my drum tech, bring me a Gatorade. At least I can down that, you know, during the show. So that would help. Yeah.
And then after the show, do you have to refuel because you've just used so many calories?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You would. My norm, I would tell Steve Brombach, our manager, my norm. I said, if you don't find me, because we would do, you know, order food, right? If you don't find me, just anything grilled chicken and veggies, anything. Every restaurant has grilled chicken,
right,
menu, or a chicken sandwich, but no mayo, just dry, you know, chicken and cheese or chicken, you know, whatever. That was always my go-to, and that was it. Rarely I would eat heavy, because if we had a long bus ride, you know, I'd never wanted to feel that, you know, I didn't. And then I would grab the protein bars and take them to the room, get hungry in the room in the middle of the night and snack on that, you know, and you're good.
So, all right, I just saw
and tons of coffee.
Yeah, that's not
coffee drinker. So
yeah, so am I.
I know.
Not the best thing, but I can't live without it. Today I did this this test for my GI thing, and I had to fast for 16 hours and I couldn't have coffee until 3 p.m. It was torture from hell. So I just saw today that you have these vitamin drinks that you're doing. Everybody's wondering, when the hell is she going to talk about the music? I promise I'm going to talk about the music. But what's with the vitamin drinks that you're doing? Tell me about that.
Okay, her name is Lisa Lynn, and she's based out of Florida. I met her through Wally and through the guys in the band, because she was providing protein powder drinks and just her vitamin supplements and everything to the guys, because she came up to me one day after show, and she said, and she is like a trainer, knows everything about fitness. She's incredible. She's a sweetheart too. She said, okay, I'm going to send you some product. I need your address, and start taking it. It's going to help you, with working out. It's going to help you, burn fat, and it's going to give you energy. So,
before we go on, were you taking supplements prior to this?
Yes and no, just vitamins, really. And I would do the Vega greens drink, the powder, mix it with almond milk and shake it up in the room and drink that. It was good. That works. But when I started taking her product, now those two I posted today, the Power Shot and the Daily Shot, I believe, those are incredible. And I really feel the difference because, come on, we're getting older, with our joints and movement, especially walking and biking, and just your energy. My energy level increased, but not like caffeine increase. It was very natural. And I found myself more like, it's mental too. It's mental energy as well as physical energy. So I tell her, thank you so much. We communicate every once in a while. I make sure I tag her on all the posts. And I'm a strong believer in that product. Wally uses it too. And,
And so every day you do a shot of each one of those?
Yeah. I usually, I get a shot glass, and pour that in, boom, and then do the next one. And it's good. And it's fine on the stomach too. It doesn't, I'll have yogurt or oatmeal or eggs in the morning, and then I take the drink, then I pop the drinks.
Because I am literally taking like 30 supplements a day, and just swallowing the pills is just, I hate it. But I saw it seemed to have pretty much between the two, everything I'm taking.
It does.
Like an easier way to do it.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. And I'll send you her information so you can.
Excellent. And I'll post it. I'll be happy to post for her, because I'm looking for, I cannot stand swallowing all those supplements. It just makes me crazy. And they're also nauseating. Does it make you queasy to take her stuff?
No, not at all. And then I also take the fat burner pill, which it's a good sized pill, but it goes down fine. And then you don't have to take it with anything. I just take it with a lot of water. And I usually take that before I work out, and she said, you're going to notice a difference you'll feel more muscle than fat, and she goes, but you might gain weight. So be careful, because you're gaining muscle weight.
Wow.
Which is,
but I saw something on her. I did look on her. I think I saw her site. After I saw your thing, I looked her up, and she has something for weight loss that you can lose like a pound at some crazy thing.
Yeah, I don't know what I need to talk to her about that one as well.
Yeah, so do I.
Say what?
So do I.
I know.
I need to talk about that one. So let's get to the music. So I did a little cheating today, and I heard some stuff. Tell me, all right, so you're a little kid, you have siblings.
Yeah.
Your house is filled with music. Were your parents musical?
No. They loved music, but they weren't, they weren't musicians. And it's funny because my dad used to say, because, okay, my brother Gil, my brother Bill, my brother Jerry, they're all musicians, right? And my dad.
You're younger?
I'm the youngest of 7. Yeah.
7.
7. Yeah. And
wow.
And it's five guys, 2 girls, 5 boys, 2 girls. And my dad would always say, I don't know where the hell you guys got this from. It's like, not even your uncle, or not even your, it was like, I don't know. I mean, I got it from my brothers, because that's how I grew up. I grew up listening to what they listened to, I didn't, I was the youngest of seven. I had no control of anything in that house. TV, the radio, the record player, nada, nothing. So I just did what I was told to do, like, hey, sit here, listen to this. And they're the ones who turned me on to Chicago as well.
Okay, so now, did I hear this right? Was that the first, tell us the story of the first concert you went to, because that's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So I don't know. I was 8 or 9 years old, and it was a Friday night. And I remember I'm sitting in the kitchen, whatever, at the house, mom and dad. And in walks my brother and my sister-in-law. They were dating at the time. They were dating. And my mom asked them, what are you guys doing tonight? And my sister-in-law said, oh, we're just going to go to a concert, at the Greek Theater. And my dad goes, oh, who are you guys going to go see? My brother said, we're going to see Chicago. They're in town. And I remember I jumped from the chair and I said, wait a minute. And you're not taking me? And then, yeah, my brother was like, well, we're going to we've got 2 tickets. And I literally went to the door. I was so upset. I was crying. I was hurt that I wasn't invited. I was everything, hating them for not inviting me, and I blocked the door and I said, you're not going without me, and then my mom went over there and, oh my God, embarrassing kid, get away from the door, and then my sister-in-law, she told my brother, she said, well, maybe we can exchange the 2 tickets for 3 tickets at the Greek, right?
Wow.
He had gotten like really good seats, right? So nevertheless, I'm in the car. We're all going to the concert. I'm Mr. Excited, right? So we get to the Greek, and then he was able to exchange them, but he got 3 tickets last row up on.
Oh.
I didn't care. I just wanted to be there. I felt bad for them.
For them who gave up their good seats.
And exactly. So there I was at the Greek Theater, and excited. It's my first concert, and like I sang along to every song they played. And now I told Robert Lamb that story last year, because last summer we played, or was it last summer? 2019, we played the Greek Theater on our summer tour. And when we were there that day, I said, hey, Robert, you know what my first concert was? And it was here. And he goes, what? Who did you see? I said, it was last row, way. And we were on stage looking at the seats, right?
Right.
Last row. I said, it was to see Chicago. And he goes, what? And I goes, yeah. And he's smiling, he just pat me and he goes, I guess you were meant to be here then. And
wow.
So it was very, like, of course, very emotional to be playing the Greek with Chicago, and I hadn't played the Greek Theater probably about 5 or 6 years prior to that. So it was a great night. It was a fun night, and tons of friends and family were there. Oh God, you can imagine how many people were like, hey, can you get me tickets? Can you get me tickets?
Oh my God. All right. Okay. So you're a little kid. How does the music start in you? Because already you were passionate about it. You were crying because you couldn't go to Chicago. When did it start for you, Ray?
Well, they, like I said, my brothers played and they were in high school. Mm-hmm. They had high school bands, like put together bands.
Right.
So at our house, we had this big back room, this huge room, right? And my brother's band would set up their gear and leave it there, and they would rehearse, and they were playing. We're talking like Earth, Wind and Fire, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Chicago, everything.
They have horn bands in the house.
They have horn bands, yeah. They have horn bands, and sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't. So I would always sit. That, to me, that was my entertainment, my TV, I wouldn't really hang out with the neighborhood kids. I would just sit and watch. On those nights, I would be like, nope, I'm going to watch them rehearse. And I was always amazed at how people are making music like that, right? So, and I would always talk to the drummers, just talk to their drummers, like, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And then my brother would say, hey, don't touch the gear, don't touch the gear. So I remember I would try to rush home because I knew my brothers wouldn't get home till like 4:30 from school, right? And I could get home because I was walking distance. I could get home by 3. So that means I sit behind the drum set, put headphones on, and play to anything, right? Without them knowing it, because my dad wasn't home. He wouldn't tell me anything. He was working, and my mom had no clue that that's what I wanted to do.
She has too many kids.
So I would do that. Exactly. She had no,
So you were pulled to the drums on your own. Was your brother a drummer?
No, he played piano, guitar, and they sang. So yeah, he wasn't a drummer. I just went there. So
Wow.
so I would okay, so I would do that every chance I could, because the gear lived at the studio. I mean, at the house.
Right.
And then when my brother saw me, because he came home early, and I freaked out, and he said, "Wait a minute, keep playing." He goes, "Keep playing," and he was like, "Oh, he can play." So now fast forward, I'm in high school. I was in 8th grade, and I was playing in a band with seniors of a high school because they couldn't find a drummer. So somebody recommended.
Wait, so Ray, you started out on drum. I mean, you didn't start out as a percussionist. You started out on drums.
Drum set. Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't study it. All I did was learn by ear,
Okay.
and I would watch drummers and learn by ear. So I didn't.
Do you read music?
I'm sorry?
Do you read music?
Yeah, now I do. Yeah, now I do. That'll be, forward into the next movement of this conversation. but I would, so I would have to sneak out of the house with the drum set to hang out with the seniors to play. Literally, I remember one time, like giving.
Sneak out with a drum kit. Come on.
Yeah. The first thing is the kick drum. I would tell the guys, go in the backyard. I'm going to leave it in the backyard. And then I would do the same thing. They would get it, sneak it into the car. And then I'll be like, all right, I'm going to go hang out with the guys. I'll see you later. And they're like, well, guys, these aren't your classmates. It's like, no, and they would come to the door. Hello, Mr. Yslas. Seniors, they have mustaches and shit, It's like, so I was like, yeah, we're, and then I told my dad one time, I said, we're in a band. We have a band, and it was cool. We're playing.
Wait a minute. Why did these seniors, why are they taking this 8th grader in?
They couldn't find a drummer. I don't know why they couldn't find a drummer. I mean, it's like, seriously, you can't find a drummer, and you want this kid. And well, one of the guys was a good friend of mine, right? David Lara, a good friend. And then Richard Rangel, those guys. I knew them growing up, but they became just, garage band type players. So they're like, just play, it'd be fun. And so they would always, it was funny, they would always make fun of me being the youngest one. Like we would go, it still makes me laugh. We would go to restaurants.
Wait, were you like little? I mean, were you like little, or were you you were little?
I was, 13, 14, and they were very tall, and I was very short, little in age and little in height. So they would, let's say we went to McDonald's, right, for lunch or whatever.
Right.
So I would go to the bathroom, and when I would come back, they had ordered me a booster seat. They would do it every time.
Oh.
But it made me laugh. It never affected me like, oh, you're making fun of me. I was a player. I was like, oh, that is the funniest shit ever. So they would just sit there like waiting for me to approach, like, and they would laugh. So that was, it was pretty hilarious. So, but to me, I just felt I was loved. That's all. Now,
how were you able to get out? Like, were you doing gigs? Like, what were you? Where were you playing?
Backyard parties and high school stuff. Like whatever the functions they had at high school, whether it was a after football game or pre-football game, they would get little gigs here. Oh, we're playing my brother's birthday party at the house. Can we? They want. I said, yeah, let's go. Why not? And we would spend literally all day Saturday and Sunday rehearsing at Dave's house.
Wow.
All day long. I mean, and that was the best for me. We'd be like, just, hey, let's learn a new song. What song? Let's find one. Okay, let's learn this one. So, and that was all day long. Sometimes it'd be like going home at 10 p.m. and being there from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
And what kind of music were you guys playing?
Oh, rock and roll. Just all, whatever was on KLOS, KMET, whatever was like, just rock and roll,
Okay, so so now you get into high school. By the time you get into high school, how does your career progress from there? Well, and when do you make a transition? How long were you a drummer before you became a percussionist?
I think I started taking okay, here's what was going on. I was getting more exposed to real drummers, you know, like
Right.
like drummers who can read and drummers who can play uh, um, uh, like jazz, play all sorts of styles of music, right? Listening to Chick Corea, to Dave Weckl, guys who can, you know, play, guys who are coming out of Berkeley, guys who are coming out of USC, you know. And then I was realizing, I don't know what I'm doing on that kit. All I play is 2 and 4, you know, that's it. I'm not doing what they do, and they're reading. So it was a little bit intimidating to see that. And also I was also listening to a lot more Latin music.
Uh-huh.
So then I made the transition, and I saved money, bought percussion gear. But when I got the gear, that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna take lessons, you know. So then I studied at Grove School of Music, which was in Van Nuys. It doesn't exist anymore. And then I started taking private lessons, like with Alex Acuna and Luis Conte, you know, studying with those guys just one-on-one. And I studied with Luis for well over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Cuban, okay, now we're talking, no, you know, this is pre-YouTube, you know, MP3.
And how old are you when this is going on?
This is like, I was around 18, 19, around 19, 20, around there. So when I started playing percussion, and but really studying it and hanging out with other percussionists and learning from them, and guys that are my age and guys that are older, and going to the Big Potato as often as I could to see Lenny Castro play with Lukather, or, you know, whoever, you know, it just I needed to be around live music, right?
Right.
So I would do that as often as I could. I mean, sometimes I literally would not eat on a Monday, so I'm not spending money, so I can eat a baked potato at the baked potato, right? And, you know, because I'd be like, let me see, cover, it's $15 covered, it's a 2-drink minimum, and okay, I can do $40. Okay, so I won't eat until I go to the baked potato, right? And hang out there and watch. And get there early, have dinner, hopefully talk to the guys, hopefully have a chat with them, and, you know, and every once in a while, I get to sit in. But
Wow.
the learning part, and it's still a learning element of, what, you know, there's drums from around the world that I haven't touched yet, you know. And like I said, it's pre YouTube,
Right.
pre MP3s, you know, no downloading. This is all, you had to find music through somebody else, through a connection. Wally Reyes, when I met Wally Reyes, he was playing with Santana, and Wally let me borrow a bunch of VHS videos of Cuban drummers
Wow.
that his dad had videotaped. And so I went to Wally's house, and we sat there, we watched it, and we tried playing, and he was showing me stuff. And then he said, here, take them home and study them. So I would set up, you know, the whole, you know, the VCR with the TV and the drums, and just practice and try to learn what they're doing. And then here's a funny story. One of the main guys, Changuito, came to LA through Rebecca Malion, who's a piano player, and she's an incredible writer as well, a songwriter, and she wrote a couple of books on history of Latin music. Wow. So anyway, so she brought Changuito to San Francisco, LA, to give private lessons, right? And word got out. So I was able to get somebody's cancellation bookings, because she called me up. If you can make it here by 3 p.m., you can have a lesson with them. Oh, cash, pay the cash. So I walk in there, and he is, man, you know, incredible. He's one of the biggest percussionist leaders of the whole percussion world, right? So I'm nervous like a motherfucker. I'm nervous, right? So I'm sitting across from him, and he's telling me, all right, play. And I'm, well, okay, I'll play. And he's like, you don't know what you're doing? He's like, it doesn't sound good. Play this. So I play it, and he's like, no. And he literally got up and walked out of the room. And I thought, like, is my lesson over?
Wow.
Or like, what? Stood up and walked out, and then walked back in 2 minutes later with a bottle of Havana Club rum and a 6-pack of Corona. And he's like, pours me a shot, pours himself a shot, drink it. He opens a couple of beers and each of us are having a beer and then we're talking now. We're just talking.
Right.
And then he goes, all right, now play it. He goes, now play. And I played it. I forgot what pattern he was teaching me, but I nailed it. And he goes, see, you're just too nervous. And he goes, you were too nervous. And he goes, I don't know why you're nervous, but you were too nervous. So I just started laughing. And needless to say, we drank and played and drank and played and drank and played. So when it was time for me to leave, I really couldn't leave because I was a little buzzed, right? So I, sat it out and then I left. So not even 2 days later, I was getting phone calls like from Luis Conte and Michito Sanchez, and they're like, hey, Ray, you want some rum? And I couldn't stop because Changuito had told him I had this guy in my class who was so nervous, and until I gave him rum, he was fine. So it just relaxed me. But that was a huge part of learning percussion was with the guys who I admire, studied with him.
Wow.
And I've yet to go to Cuba though. I've been wanting to go for the longest time just to go hang out, And then of course with Wally, oh my God, I've learned so much with Wally before Chicago, before even being in the band Chicago. Me and Wally had a band together called Sinvergüenza, which is shameless, and some incredible musicians from LA, and the whole my goal when I started putting the band together, I said, no rehearsals. Everybody learn the songs on your own. And what happens on stage happens. We're just going to have fun. Wow. I said, and that's the name of the band. It's like Sinvergüenza. I said, yeah, play like shamelessly, and we would, and it was a great band. But the problem was, it was made up of like, members of, Tara Cacconi on guitar, Oscar Cartaya on bass, the lead singer for Santana. Everybody was busy, so we never really had an opportunity to be in LA at the same time. Wally was back and forth with Santana, so whenever he was around, as he tried to book a date at Cafe Cordial or somewhere else. We played Dodger Stadium a couple of times for the pregame.
Okay, so wait, let's back up a little bit. How did you go from being an amateur musician to a professional? What was the transition into being a professional musician?
Well, I think then with the process of learning and hanging out, you start meeting people, right? Mm-hmm. So I got to know some of the not heads, but like musical directors of artists, like of Latin artists. And one of them, a buddy of mine, Cesar Benitez, had called me to do some dates, local dates, right? Mm-hmm. And then he ended up being the musical director for a few top Latin artists. So he would put me on those gigs, and I would see like, wait a minute, we're only doing a 1-hour show and you're paying me this much money. This is awesome, compared to 5-hour salsa night on a Wednesday and you're making $50. It's like, so it slowly started. I started getting more work. Word gets out, you right. Keep your reputation going. And that was the thing. You got to, my goal was to always make sure I always got another gig from that artist or from that musical director. Never like, okay, one time and you're done. That, you got to keep moving forward, moving upward. And people would, thank God people would recommend me for work. And I would meet.
So I assume, Ray, excuse me for interrupting you, that it was not just your playing, but also your work ethic. I'm assuming has to be like.
Yeah, one thing I noticed when I started working with Ricky Minor was if you show up an hour before, you're late. Before down. Oh. Because you have to allow yourself to be ready to go, and if you have charts. Mark your charts, because that's what I would do. I'd highlight sections, because you want to make sure you're not the only one hitting a note when the chart says no, when the chart says tacit, but yeah, it's work ethics. You have to play it smart, and that always, I've always felt that came natural, because I always thought, well, I want to keep working. And what does that mean? In any job you do, any job, from working at the market or working in a lab, you show up on time and you do 110%.
Right.
always, 1,000%. You have to.
With any job, if you work in a supermarket, no matter what you're doing, you kind
Exactly.
of got to have that work ethic. Yeah,
And it has to be, and I try to instill that upon the kids. Like I tell them, if they ask you to do 3 to 5 questions, submit 3 to 5 questions on an assignment, give them 5. Don't give them 3.
right.
Well, the minimum is 3. That's the minimum. Don't ever do the minimum. Do the maximum. On any job you do. Like when I do sessions here, if sometimes they don't know what they want on the track, they just say do whatever the track needs. So I could easily say, well, the track just needed bongos. That's it. That's what I think. It just needed bongos, right? But no, it's bullshit. Track needs tambourine, shaker, toys, not just bongos, maybe some congas. And if it's too much for them, if they don't want to use the track, that's fine. But you
more than they need.
Yeah. I remember one time I was recording just recently with a Chicago track, and Robert said, "You gave me too many tracks." And I said it loud, and I said, "Well, that's what I thought the song needed." And he goes, "Oh, now I have to listen to everything." But it was very funny. It was a very, they're just being silly about it. But he's like, it all sounded great. It all worked for the track. And yeah. But
what's the first gig from playing in clubs to getting to that next level, to playing theaters or?
Oh, okay. Okay, so back to my buddy Cesar. It was an artist by the name of Alvaro Torres, who was from Central America. Mm-hmm. And it was dates in Mexico. It was like, you have a passport? And, I was like, oh, I'll get one ASAP. And getting on the flight, doing 3 or 4 dates in Mexico City, a big old beautiful theater. And then we would do dates here. And then that's it. Once again, it just started snowballing, and when I told my parents, this is what I want to do, and they're like, oh, well, the music industry.
Are any of your brothers professional musicians? Did they?
Well, they play, like my brother Jerry plays in church, and he works on the weekends, and he teaches, but he makes good money doing it. And but they don't tour.
Right.
They just play locally. Mm-hmm. My brother Bill, he's toured with some Latin artists before, but it was a few years ago. But they do local stuff, and but as far as like, this is what it is, and the industry leads us one way, and then you have 2 months off, or you have or you have COVID, all of a sudden, and you have to continuously keep yourself active in the industry, and okay, so that was one artist. And then I met another producer and doing recording sessions. And then I met Ricky Minor, right? I met Ricky Minor
How did that happen?
Okay, so I got called to record with an artist, a band called 98 Degrees, which was a pop, like a bourbon, right?
I remember them.
I met the guitar player in New York, and he said, "Oh, we're going to record the album in LA. There's a song that needs percussion. You should come in and do it." So I went in and I did all the percussion. So then months later, I'm back in New York with I forgot who, and I ran into Rick, the guitar player, and he said they're auditioning the band in LA for promo for 98 Degrees. And I said, "Who's the guy?" And he goes, "Some guy named Ricky Minor." And I went, okay. So I didn't know Ricky. I looked him up in Musicians Union, right? Mm-hmm. Got his phone number, called him up, and he said, it was very funny. I remember the conversation. He said, he goes, "Who are you?" And I went, "Well, my name's Ray. He says I play percussion." And he goes, "Percussion?" He goes, "I know every musician in LA." And he goes, "I don't know you." And so, well, I'm brand new to the scene here. Although I'm here, I live here, but I'm new to the scene. And he goes,
"How old are you around this time, Ray?"
Mid-20s, 25, 20, yeah, around 25, I think. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, come down. I'm holding auditions. Come down tomorrow." And I said, okay. So I went in and I played, and then I went back the next day. And then as I was leaving, he didn't really say anything. He just said play, and the guys played. I guess the boys were scoping us out to see who fits, and I went to my car, right? And then he runs out, And he goes, oh, by the way, and he goes, don't book anything. He goes, you're mine for 6 months. And I said, what? He goes, whatever you have booked, cancel it. And he goes, we start rehearsals Monday. It was like a Thursday or something. He goes, Monday, 10 a.m. here, this room, be here. And I was like, oh, right on. And then from there, when that ended, he put me on the Backstreet Boys. And then I was on the road for about 1.5 years with the boys, right? And then when that ended, Ricky called me up for Patti LaBelle, and then other TV stuff that would go on, and then Christina Aguilera came up, right? And it was pretty funny. He said, I can't just put you on the gig. It's an audition. Everybody has to audition, right? So be here at this time. So I show up, and okay, so I was doing the Latin Grammys that same day at the Kodak, right?
Okay, so now wait, you've jumped way ahead. So you've gone from playing with Latin musicians to now playing with the Backstreet Boys at the height of their like craziness, right?
That was huge, yeah.
So before we go on to Christina, so what is that like for you to make that transition?
That was pretty big. That was pretty big because it was a 24/7 commitment, because when we started rehearsals with Backstreet, they were long days. It was 7 days a week, and I couldn't really do anything, you can't do anything else.
Right.
You're in and then when production rehearsals started, we were in a month at the Forum doing production rehearsals, and then you hit the road. The only time I didn't take anything. The only time when I got home, I needed to just chill. Yeah. Mentally, and it was when we went international with the Backstreet Boys, I swear that's the closest I think I've seen the craziness of like what the Beatles had.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been nuts. Girls screaming and at the back, at the stage door and all of that stuff, right?
Hiding in elevators, figuring out where the hotels are. And I mean, obviously it's for them. I'm just watching it as the band, right?
Right.
And it was hilarious. I mean, there was, and I've told this story before, there was in Brazil, Nick Carter, one of the singers, right? One of the boys. I was in the lobby of the hotel, and this girl comes up to me and she says, "You're in the band." And I said, "Yeah." She goes, I want to see Nick. And I said, "Well, good luck." I was like, "Good luck." So then she sat down and she goes, "No, I'm the best." She sat down and I saw her like this. And I was like, what's she doing? I mean, she didn't have a paper or anything. And I was like, yeah. And then she came back to me and she goes, "This is how much I love Nick." And she showed me her arm. She had carved with her nail, Nick, right there.
Oh my God.
She had like it was like bleeding. And I was like, okay, fanatic, but that was one of I told Nick like the next day when I saw him, and he goes, "Oh, wow." He goes, I mean, it was crazy. They would block hotel rooms. I mean, block hotel entrances, right? Because we were staying there, and we stayed at the same hotel as they did. We all stayed in the same hotel. Right. So it was, it was crazy, and it was 1.5 years, and then that ended, and then what happened after that? I mean, I did a few things, TV work, light session work. I wasn't a heavy session guy because all like Alex, Luis, Lenny, those guys, Richie Garcia, they all handled a lot of the session work in LA. And once in a great while, I get called to do an album or something. It was mainly live work for me back then. And then, okay, so Christina. Now, Ricky calls me for Christina.
And she's at the height of her Christina-ness, I'm assuming.
Yeah, this was the stripped record, the stripped album. So she was it was a big album, and world tour, everything. And so I auditioned for okay. Here's what happened. The day that they wanted me to audition, I was scheduled to do the Latin Grammys. Now, when you do the Grammys or the Latin Grammys, you're there day of show, like from 9 a.m.
Right.
Till the end of the show, because it goes live to the East Coast, so it starts at 5 p.m. West Coast time.
Right. So
you're done at 8, depending on where you perform, right? So I was scheduled to start the top of the show with Alejandro Fernandez, and where like the curtains open up, and it's him and me, and I'm playing cajon, right? Right. That was the whole thing. But I had to be there at 9 a.m. So Ricky's assistant calls and says, I need you here at 1 p.m. to audition for Christina. So I was like, oh, can I do tomorrow? Because I'm doing, and then she said, it's today or nothing. And I was like, fuck, I want this gig. All right. I was like, think. So I went up to the musical director and I said, I got to bounce. And that just happened to be during the lunch break, right? And it's Hollywood to Burbank. It's not far, right?
Right.
So he's like, man, I wouldn't leave if I were you. And then I said, I'm going to go. I said, I'm going to go and I will be back. I'll be back by 3. They only want me playing one song. And I said, and we're done with the rehearsal. You really don't need me until 4:30 start of show, 5 p.m. down, right? He's like, all right. He goes, well, I didn't hear it. Go ahead. So I went. So 1 o'clock and I'm ready, right? Let's do this. She decides to take her lunch break. So we're like, okay. And Ricky was very cool. He went up to her and he said, hey, look, Ray's doing the Latin Grammys. She said, let me have my lunch first. I was like, okay, cool. So needless to say, it was a very long lunch for her, but it was around, okay, now it's around 3 p.m. And I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. And back then I had a pager, the beeper.
Yeah.
It was beeping like I must have missed like 20. I didn't want to answer, and I know it was all from the musical director.
Right.
And because they were sizing up the jacket and they needed to find me to size it up, right? And I was like, oh, that could wait. No biggie. So anyways, so she finally said, all right, get up there and play. And I'm thinking, all right, she had a lot of Latin songs, a lot of like heavy groove stuff.
Right.
She wants to hear the song Beautiful, which is the ballad. So I'm just like, shaker, tambourine. I'm like, are you kidding me? Full setup. And I'm like, and then she just went, okay, thank you. Next, and I was like, okay. And then I walked down and I'm thinking, I'm not getting the gig because whoever else is auditioning, then she's going to have them play,
Right.
So it's almost 4 p.m. right? And Ricky's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. The assistant's going to ride with you and she's going to drop you off because I had my truck and you're just going to run in there because I would have to find parking with taking so long, right? So I was like, oh my God, okay, perfect. So I'm driving and I'm hitting all this traffic. So I asked her, I said, all right, hold on. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm not gonna lose one job because I didn't get this gig. So I started driving on the opposite side of the street. There were no cars. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? So I would pull over, let cars come, and then I'd go. And I did that all the way to the Kodak. And I was like, if I'm going to lose this gig, it's going to be because of a ticket. It's not going to be because, So I get to the Kodak. She goes and parks my truck. Thank God she was there with me. I run in and it's like 15 to 5. Everybody's in position at 4:30, right?
Oh my God.
So the manager comes up to me and to my face and he says, you'll never work with me again. And I said, okay, I get it. So I take out my shirt, put my black t-shirt on, put the jacket on, sat on the cajon. And then Alejandro, the Fernandez, the artist, he's looking at me and he's laughing. He was cool. He was cool about it. He just nodded and he goes, did you get the gig? And I went, I don't know. I said, I don't think I got it because I had to play shaker tambourine. And he started laughing and he tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, let's have some fun. So then curtains open up, boom, we started playing. And it was fine. I made it in time. But I was like this for 4 hours. I
can't even imagine.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
And then you got word that you got the Christina gig.
No, I didn't get it.
Oh.
So some other percussionist got it. And I was like, oh, well, whatever. 2 weeks later, I get called from Ricky and he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing yard work. I was like digging holes in the front yard. And he said, it was a Sunday afternoon. He goes, get over here now. Studio 4, center staging. Or get over here, your cajon. And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, but hurry up. And he hung up. Well, I show up and it's all cameras and the guitar player. I knew Fish, you know, he's there. And I said, what's going on? He goes, we're doing a live, God, what was it? It wasn't YouTube. It was another one of those channels, right?
Yeah.
I forgot what. And he goes, we're doing it acoustic. So he goes, it's just going to be guitar, the background singers, and myself, right? And then I walked in, and Ricky goes, okay, you know. And then she said, did you find somebody to play cajon? And Ricky goes, yeah, here, let me introduce you. And she looked at me. And she went, okay, all right. And then we played 2 songs, right? And it was great. I mean, cameras live, no, just one take each song. She sounded amazing.
And you knew her material. You were able to just jump in.
Well, yes and no, but I faked it really well. You know? I just watched the guitar player for the breaks. You know, there were no charts. You couldn't do charts because there's cameras right there, right? So, all right. So we finished playing, and then the producer said, "All right, we got it. We're good." And then she stood up and she looked at me. She goes, "Welcome to the band." And I went, well, "Okay, what's going on here?" I went, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you." And then she walked out. And then Ricky comes over. Ricky's laughing. He goes, "I guess you're in the band now." And he goes, "See, you never know." 2 weeks later, he goes, "You don't get the gig. You get the gig." He hands me a schedule. It was Sunday. He hands me a schedule, and I look at the schedule, and it says Monday morning fly to Mexico City. So I was like, "Oh shit, okay, I got to go home and pack." So it was like 5 p.m. And then that was it. That was because it was all promo. It was promo for the album, and I forgot what songs we were playing, but we did promo in Mexico, promo in the Bahamas, and then came home, rehearsals, hit the road. So it was, and then I worked with Christina for a good 4 years. I did 3 tours with her, and
Wow.
she's incredible, unbelievable. She still is an unbelievable singer, just wow factor, and yeah. So
was she a tough person? Like, I just remember my kids were really into her and stuff. That she was kind of a difficult. Was she a difficult personality?
well, I mean, she's a diva. You know, she was a diva. You know,
Yeah.
she was young. She was young, but as the tours got, when we moved to the next tour, with the next album, I got to play on Ain't No Other Man. I played percussion on that song, and she was communicating more and more with everybody, and she was cool. I mean, it's just like, okay, the first time I had met her, yeah, it was keep your distance. She's the artist, right? I mean, I wasn't told that. I just understood.
Right.
You know, that's the artist, and you work for the artist. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. And but it later became where she would walk in. "Oh, Ray, let me tell you about something. How's your son doing? How's Gabby doing?" You know, we talk. You know, we talk about stuff. You know, when my mom passed away, she gave me like one of the biggest hugs, and she was crying, and she was like, "I know the feeling. I'm so sorry," but because I had to leave the tour. I was in Europe, so I had to leave the tour to come back, to be home before she passed, right? And I sent out a sub, and when I rejoined the tour, that's when she was just, you know, I was like, wow, that was very cool, very sweet of her. She didn't have to do that. Sent a huge bouquet of flowers to the house, you know, and yeah. So, you know, every artist is their own thing, you know, and it's a job too. You know, we got to work that job.
What gig have you had over the long haul? Somebody that you've toured with that has been just raucous fun, and where it wasn't sort of that sort of thing, where it was.
Well, you mean like not so pleasant, or?
No, where I mean it, where it really was, where it really was, where you felt really relaxed and really part of the band, and.
Oh, well, that's needless to say, Chicago. Come on, being since day one. The funniest. Okay, now, all right. There was no rehearsals for me. Wally sent me the live show, right, in full, like a very 2 long MP3s, right? So I set here, put it up on that screen right back there. I set up my gear like how I would have set it up on the show, and I rehearsed the songs, and then at night, every night for 3 weeks, I would perform the show, headphones on, playing as if I'm in front of the audience playing the song.
Right.
So because Wally said, we're not going to rehearse, man, and we're not going to sound check. So go in there as if you've done the show. And I said, okay, cool, I can do that.
Wow.
So when I went in on night one, okay, it was crazy. It was like just a feeling. First of all, Chicago, the first band that I ever saw in concert.
Crazy.
Second of all, no rehearsal. I'm going in cold turkey. All eyes are on me.
Wow.
And I'm to my left, close setup is Robert Lamb's setup right there. He's right there. So he was paying attention. And so at the end of that show, the sound guy came up to me and he said, great show, man. It looked like you've been doing this forever. And I mean, doing this show. And he goes, I got to tell you something though. And he goes, this should be a compliment. And I said, what? And he goes, Robert asked me to put you up in his mix.
Oh.
And he goes, that's a good sign. And he goes, because, if you weren't, he would have said, take him out of my mix, take him completely out. And he goes, so keep it up. And I was like, wow, that's very cool. So so learning the show like that. Okay, that same show, right? After the show, I'm in the dressing room. The guys are where everybody's changing, high-fiving, and they're going to meet and greet, right? Bo, our tour assistant guy, comes in and he goes, Yslas, and he goes, get over there. And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, it's meet and greet. We do a picture and everything. I said, well, and he goes, you're part of this. Get in there now. And I walked in and Robert was like, where were you? And I said, I didn't know. I mean, nobody told me I was doing the meet and greet,
Right.
And he goes, and Robert said, you're in the band. That means you're in Chicago. This is what we do. We all do it as a unit. And and I was like, okay. And that to me was like, wow. I mean, that was another big hug from the leaders. And technically I was in just to do a few dates. And during that leg, like about 5 shows later, and Steve, the manager, called me up. I was in San Antonio. No, not somewhere in Texas. It was a day off. I'm walking. I was crossing a very large street, right? Like, walk, don't walk. So walk. I'm walking. My phone rings. Hey, Steve, what's up? And he goes, hey, man, so do you want to do the rest of this run? And I said, of course. And he goes, do you want to do the summer tour? And I said, of course. And he goes, do you want to do the whole fucking year? And I said, yes. And he goes, are you okay? And I'm stopped in the middle of the street going, yes. And he goes, you're in, man. You're in. That's it. And I was like, wow. And all of a sudden I'm looking at, and then cars start honking because I was in the middle of the street. The light had turned green and they're like, get the hell out of the street. Oh shit. All right. So I crossed the street. But that was, I remember calling the kids and calling back home and saying, I'm not coming home. I was supposed to come home next week. Now I'm not going to come home till the end of April.
Wow.
So it was once again very emotional and very like wow fact. And it's a team. It's a team. It's and a good group of people, solid everybody, the band, the crew, the management, the web designers, everybody involved with Chicago is a family. Like our manager is he keeps it. He says we're a team. We do this together. We do all this, And we recorded a Christmas album last year, and we recorded the Christmas album during the summer tour. And the guys were like, okay, everybody submit songs. Write songs, submit it. And if we can do it, I submitted a song, and it's called what's it called? All Is Right. Yeah, All Is Right. And me and my co-writer Mike. We wrote it while I was on the road, and so I put it on the table with the guys, and they were like, "Yeah, we love it. Let's do it. Okay, cool." And I was like, "Wow, all right, now I got a song on a Chicago album."
That's so fantastic.
I know it was like just wow. I mean, one great thing after another with these guys, and of course, you can imagine how much we miss each other right now. It's like that first show that we do after all this bullshit. That's going to be pretty damn epic.
I bet that is true. God, I hope it's in LA and I hope I get to go. I actually have a Chicago song in my screen.
Yeah,
Only the beginnings. Is it called Beginnings? Only the beginning? That's a big part of my screenplay. Actually. It recurs a bunch of times. But I'm a
that's
huge
awesome.
Chicago fan, so I'm excited to come see you play with them. I hope we all get to do that. You know, it's sounding like we will. You know, the vaccines are sounding more and more encouraging, and
yeah, 95% today. They announced 95%.
Pfizer, yep, they did. So hopefully that's going to happen before too long. Okay, so I just want to ask you a couple quick highlights of people like playing with Aretha, with Prince, with Stevie Wonder, with Stevie Nicks. Tell me like a quick thing about playing with those guys.
Well, with Prince, it was just on the George Lopez show, and it was crazy because he was the only guest. There was a female guest that day as well that he wanted to be on the show. So I was doing the George Lopez show. I was basically covering for Lenny Castro when he couldn't do it.
You're gonna have to tell me why. Oh, you were in the house band for the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was.
Sheila E's played My Living Room. It's like, why wasn't Sheila E with him? But okay.
Yeah, and so it was so Prince was on that show, and so we played with them.
Wow.
Twice on that day, but a lot of it wasn't on camera because it was on the commercial breaks, and that was incredible. I mean, that's really the only element I got of working with him on that side. Then with Aretha, that was a whole different. I did shows when she came to LA. I think it was 2 or 3 shows. That was amazing. I mean, to be in her presence, you know. And Stevie Wonder was another one where I did a recording session for him with the Super Bowl in 2006, where it was the Motown, because the Super Bowl was in Detroit, so they did the Motown for the halftime, right? So we pre-recorded all of that in his studio. Literally, like, was all night.
Wow.
It was the call came in at noon, but there was no time frame established, right? Like, well, we'll let you know when we know. And then at 7 p.m. they said, okay, just get to the studio when you can, you know. And I said, oh, okay. So I went to the studio, and we recorded from like 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And a lot of it was just jamming, you know. And then he would say, all right, let's record the song, you know. And then we'd have to figure out a medley of how to, because it was performed as a medley,
right?
A bunch of his songs. Then I did one event with him in New York for Clinton. It was for his fundraiser. That was epic. That was an epic night, you know. Yeah, then we did a couple of shows around New York around that time too, kind of spread out time-wise, like 4 shows in 3 weeks. So it stayed in New York the whole time. And then that kind of faded away because I was getting calls to do other stuff that I didn't want to turn down. And Stevie's was finishing a tour, doing this stuff and not really doing much more. So I, you know, that kind of just like dissolved. No biggie. It was no biggie. Who else did you mention?
How about Carlos Santana?
Oh, that was one with as well with George Lopez. That was a big jam. It was incredible, you know. And then I've actually hung out with Carlos a couple of times. He brought his daughter to see Christina Aguilera. So that was a great conversation we had just backstage. And a lot of it was in Spanish, which was really cool. You know, really cool. Yeah, that was with George Lopez, and that was incredible because he brought half the band, half of his band, and then all of our band, and then that was epic playing those songs.
So it's so weird because my ex-husband worked on Letterman. You've played Letterman. He worked on Leno. You played Leno. He was on the pilot of George Lopez. He did so a lot of, you probably have crossed paths with him, but that's beside the point. Okay, how about Willie Nelson? Because I don't think of Willie Nelson as having a percussionist. So what was that like?
Well, it was for a TV show. It was it was, God, what's his name? Okay, Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson. Remember when they were married?
Yeah.
They actually did a variety show for ABC. they did one show, and then it was so highly it was, the ratings were killing. It was a Sunday night. It was like the old Sonny and Cher show. Remember that?
Oh, yeah,
It
of
was,
course.
I think it was using that format where they would do little skits and music in between, and then she would perform, and then he would perform, and they would perform together, and they would have guests on the show. So they ended up doing like three. ABC signed one show, and then they ended up requesting a few more shows. So on one of those shows, we went to Germany to do like a 4th of July performance for the U.S. troops at one of the bases, one of the American bases, right? Ramadan, I think. I can't remember. No, Ram something, some city in Germany. Anyway, so okay, I'm in the hotel, right? And I went down for breakfast, 8 a.m. All of a sudden, this guy comes over to me and he goes, "Hey, are they still serving breakfast?" And I looked up and it's Willie, right? And I went, "Mr. Nelson." And he goes, "Did I miss breakfast?" And I said, No. I'm sure you can still, because the buffet in Germany.
Right.
And he goes, "Oh, good. I'm starving." And he goes, "Is this seat taken?" And I said, No. And he goes, "All right, I'll be right back." And he put his hat down, right? He was wearing a baseball cap. So he went and grabbed a plate and he came back. And then I'm thinking to myself, of all people, I don't even know him. And he looks at me and he goes, "You look like a musician." So that's why I thought, "Are you doing this event?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm actually in the house band." And he goes, "Oh, great." And so we talking, having breakfast, just talking about everything. He was hilarious, such a sweet guy, And then we had to go to the venue. Well, it wasn't really a venue. It was really cool. They had all the not the airplane, the fighter jets all set up around, and there was a stage.
Right.
Fighter jets set up around, and on the wings of the jets, the soldiers were kicking it, like just with a blanket or with a lawn chair or whatever on top. So visually on the camera, it looked like they're just hanging out on the airplanes. Meanwhile, there's other planes landing in the background. It's right on the airstrip, right? And it was a beautiful day. And so Willie, we played, and also Willie Nelson and Jessica Simpson had a remake of These Boots Were Made for Walking.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard that.
It's really, really cool. She sounded really good on that. And so we played that. We played a couple of Willie songs, but then they were like, "Okay, we're done for filming." And Willie didn't want to stop playing. He wanted to give them a little concert.
Wow.
And they were like, "Well, we can't really do that." And I was like, "Oh, come on, let's play." So we ended up doing like 3 or 4 songs extra for the troops because he wanted to play. The guy just wanted to share that with the soldiers, And that was a place where soldiers would go. Sometimes that would be the last stop before going into any battle or any type of seriousness going on in the world. They would go from there and then come back there. And a lot of them were hurt. A lot of them, it was also a hospital. So you're seeing a lot of soldiers who had lost a leg, lost an arm.
Oh, wow.
Bandaged up on their eye. And I'm talking to 18-year-olds who are getting ready to take off the next day, and they were just ready to do it, and I was like, wow. I mean, eye opener, definitely.
Wow. How about Stevie Nicks? What was the?
Oh my God, I love the work with Stevie. Waddy called me for that. Waddy Wattel, Waddy, and Waddy just out of the blue, he was like, "Hey, you're now." I don't know how he got my number, but he called me up and he was like, "We have some TV stuff and some live shows." He goes, "You want to do the gig?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." I had to go in and audition, but it wasn't, he was like, it's not really an audition. She just wants to hear it. And he goes, "I already told her you're going to do it." Waddy, the way he talks.
Going to be on this.
I fucking.
I'm
Say
sorry,
what?
I interrupted you. Waddy's going to be my guest next Wednesday.
Actually. Oh, he is. Oh yeah. Tell him, that I was here. And I've written some songs with Waddy as well, with me, Waddy, and Mike Burns.
By the way, somebody just asked, Tony just asked, do you sing, Ray?
No, not really. like to sing some. I need training to be trained. You know, I would love to actually, but I need to be properly trained. You know, I did it. Okay, check this out. And speaking of Waddy, I did once live at a club in Santa Barbara with my buddy Tarek.
Mhm.
And of all songs, I ended up singing Lawyers, Guns, and Money. You know, Warren Zevon, that Waddy co-wrote, right?
Yes.
So, and I told Waddy about that. I said, hey, you know what I sang last night at a club in Santa Barbara? He's like, and Waddy was, did you sound good? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Nobody threw apples and tomatoes at me, so I guess it worked. So how funny though. But yeah, so Waddy called me for Stevie, right? And from there, me and Waddy became good buddies, you know, because we were talking about just, oh, he's a foodie as well, you know, and he used to live very close to me, right? So he was asking me, oh, have you gone to this restaurant or that restaurant? I said, no. And he goes, let's go, you and me. So we would go. We'd meet up and go have lunch, you know, and then I turned him on to some other restaurants, and then we would just kept, you know, we talked more back then about food than about music. And then, you know, during the Stevie gig, it was incredible, you know, and then the history between those two and playing her music. Wow, man. I mean, and she is a beautiful soul. I loved, because come on, I mean, she's a musician. She was first a musician, right? You know, trying to just get a gig, trying to just be a singer, you know, with some guys who are putting together a band called Fleetwood Mac or something, you know, and and just hearing her talk about that was pretty amazing, you know. And I remember one time she asked, because I have these really nice tambourines for
By the
students.
way, everybody who's watching, Ray's going to take us out with some percussion before we go. So we're going to, yeah. Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
So I'm not Waddy, Stevie Nicks didn't have her tambourine. We were doing some TV show. And then she said, she comes over to me. She goes, give me your tambourine. I need to use it for this. And I know she, you know, she gets it, she throws it up and starts, and I have like really nice tambourines for studio. And then I have some for stage, right? So I said, okay. So I reached over to give her the stage tambourine, not the studio one. And then she looks at it and she goes, no, give me that other one, the one you were playing. You know, she was watching you. She goes, I was watching you. That's not the same one. And I went, oh, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, just don't drop it. Don't drop it. And I said, all right, here's Stevie, and I give it to her. And then she's playing it, you know, and, you know, having a blast. She didn't drop it, but it was so cute. And then she just put it on the side of the stage after the song. And I was like, okay, where's the tambourine? I got to find it, you know. I was like, you know, looking around, and, you know, and Waddy was like, you didn't want to give her that one. I said, no, because I was afraid she's going to drop it. And, you know, he goes, she's cool. She'll handle it. So it was pretty hilarious. I did off and on with her for about a year, I think.
Nice.
Basically, what was going on, I was covering for Lenny with Stevie. When Lenny got busy, and Waddy would, hey, you know, come work with Stevie. I was like, of course.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one more person I want to ask you about, because I know one of her drummers, but Jennifer Lopez. I mean, you must do a lot of percussion with Jennifer Lopez, I'm thinking, because that woman is dancing her ass off the whole time.
Yeah.
So now, do you know Chris Johnson? Because Chris did my show. Did you play with Chris, with her?
Who was on drums? Because I think Chris was doing the gig. I think Chris was playing drums. And there was another drummer as well. But yeah, I think I started with Chris on the gig.
He was saying that it's the best view in the world when you're playing drums for Jennifer Lopez.
It was pretty hilarious. It was like, you know, she told me one time on one of the solos. Well, there's usually on stage a giant staircase, right? And she goes up that, and Chris is on that side, and I'm on the other side, right? So it's towards the end of the show already. She's doing, I forgot what song, and it's very, very drum driven, right? And she came up to me, she said, so I want you to play a thing like super fast timbal, you know, like that. She goes, but don't start it. She goes, because the volume's gonna come up. Don't start it until I start shaking my ass. So just watch my ass. And then I went, oh, Okay. I have permission to watch class. Okay. I got it. And then I remember the first time she did, she came down and she looked at me, she goes, and that made me laugh. I was like, I've been watching it. I'm waiting for the shake. I've been watching it. So.
That's hysterical. Okay, that's a perfect story to go out with this. So, Ray, I'm going to ask you to play some percussion for us because you got everything set up back there, and I don't know what you cajon, whatever you want to play. But thank you so much for doing this. I've been trying to get. I met you at NAMM a couple of years ago with Snuffy.
With Snuffy.
Yeah. And I like you had sat in with them, and I like said, please introduce me to him. I like, and it took all this time to make this happen, and I'm so grateful. You've been so wonderful, and I've loved your stories, and I love your playing, and I can't wait for the day that I can see you play with Chicago. That's the dream.
Will happen hopefully soon. And and I'm a fan of yours with your book, your #1 bestseller. Come on, and and you've done so much too. So when I met you that day at NAMM, I was like, oh, that's Vicki. I said, oh, cool. I was like, that was awesome. So, and Snuffy, I need, I wish I haven't talked. Have you talked to Snuffy? I haven't seen that dude.
Yeah. Snuffy comes on and shooting the shit every once in a while. And yes, we talked. Yeah, absolutely.
I need to give him a call and just check in with him. He's a funny guy too. So he's definitely one of us. All these people, I love it.
Absolutely. And Ray, do me a favor, send me links after the show so that everybody can watch something that you've done recently with Chicago. You're going to send me the link for your Woman with the Vitamin. You were going to send me there's another one there was another music thing that you were going to send me that I'm spacing on.
What I want to mention as well, and I'll send you the link to this song. It's a song that I performed with recently, and it was for the elections, like trying to get the word out. I was with Jonathan Butler and his friend co-wrote the song, but it features Marcus Miller, Dave Cause, Rick Braun, Jeffrey Osborne, Mesa, Arlington Jones on keys, and myself, and Will Kennedy. All of us, Jonathan was like, hey, let's do this. Can you guys? And he sent me the track. I did everything here, and I'll send you the song so you can post it.
I would love to.
Beautiful song, and it's called Our Voices Matter, and it really is a powerful lyrical song, and it's out on every platform, YouTube, Spotify, everything. You can find it easily. Nice. So, and it's cool because we're all listed. All of our names are listed as a big part of the song. So it's very.
Ray, thank you so much for doing this. I adore you. You're wonderful. And we haven't even begun to talk about your talent, but you're going to show us some.
What do you want to hear?
I don't know. I want you to play what you're in the mood, whatever you're in the mood for. What makes you happy right now?
I'll play some cajon then. Let me angle this puppy so we can. I may have to move
love
back.
The cajon.
So here's the LP cajon. So. Can you see it? You can see it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see you and the cajon. Perfect.
All right. So.
It's hard to hear. We didn't have as much volume as I hoped. Can you play? Yeah, we need something that's louder. Yeah. Okay. Yes. There you go. Woohoo!
Pandeiro from Brazil. So.
For some reason they're not picking up on the mic, but we can see what you're doing. But yeah, we're not getting volume with that. I don't know why that is.
You guys can't hear it?
Not well. We need something that we can hear. I could see what you were doing, but the volume was really low. I don't know why.
I don't get it.
I don't either. You were right on top of the thing.
So nothing, huh?
Oh yeah, that I can hear. That one I can hear. Now you're
Repeat that.
That we can hear.
Ah, okay. Talking drum. A little something.
You know, for some reason the mic isn't picking up instruments. It's not liking the percussion. It's liking you. But Ray, thank you so much for doing this. It was such a joy. I'm so grateful to you, and it was lovely to spend this time with you and get to know you. And I look forward to many more occasions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and an honor. We finally did this, and
Yay!
we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
And stay safe, stay well, and I look forward to your cooking as well. We'll have to talk about that in the future.
Yes.
Maybe go to a restaurant with Waddy.
Yeah, we should. We should.
Excellent. And thank you all out there for tuning in, and I will see you next week with Waddy Wachtel. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.